November 2005, a year after the launch of the DS, one of the greatest handheld consoles ever made. Sonic was at the height of his popularity at this time, and new games were coming out almost every year for multiple consoles. Sonic has had outings on Nintendo consoles before, such as the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. Sega wanted to make a brand new Sonic game for Nintendo's money-making flip phone, and wanted it to be as amazing and memorable as possible. No, not that one. That one. Sonic Rush is a phenomenal game for its time, mixing 2D gameplay with 3D elements, creating a 2.5D experience, and they absolutely did a great job with the totally high poly models and the beautiful sprite design. The game is essentially a classic Sonic game style redefined for a newer generation, without having to rely on reusing old zones and pandering to 90s kids. Rush has the basic classic controls such as spin jumping, the spin dash, and rolling to gain momentum. Besides those and the physics in general being similar, everything else is relatively new. Sonic has moves such as the homing attack, boosting, we'll dive into that soon, and he can also do air dashes and various air tricks in general. The gameplay flows smoothly and Sonic feels so great to control. He's really fast and the controls are simple yet effective. Level gimmicks and designs also take this into note as you go along. The homing attack is in this game, however it is a bit different than how you would think. Instead of jumping and hitting the jump button again, you have to jump and press the right bumper when close enough to an enemy. It's certainly different and takes getting used to. However, it can be a bit annoying since right bumper also happens to be the air trick button. Kind of reminds me of another game which had this problem like this in the homing attack. Sonic Rush is also the first ever game to introduce the boost, a highly controversial power in the modern games, but ironically, this is where it's at its best. Even if you have a full bar, it doesn't last too long and it feels incredibly rewarding to use it at all. The boost bar is filled up by doing air tricks, destroying badniks, and passing through checkpoints. The boost gauge depletes quickly enough for you to not absolutely cheese through the levels. It forces you to work for the power and it feels absolutely gratifying when you have a full bar. Air tricks can be done after things like bouncing on springs and being launched by a stage gimmick. Jumping normally won't cut it, it has to be done properly. Like I said, air tricks fill up the boost bar and they also grant points to your overall score. You can also do them while rail grinding, which is pretty neat. Sonic Rush also introduced us to a brand new playable character in the form of Blaze the Cat. She is a princess with fire powers from an alternate dimension who's assigned to protect the mystical soul emeralds. Jesus, that's a lot of magical rocks to keep track of, huh? Blaze has similar gameplay to Sonic, but it is different enough to make her not just Pink Girl Sonic. Wait a minute, her moveset is heavily fire-based. Instead of rolling into a ball, she spins in a fire tornado. Her boost effect is like a fireball, which looks way cooler than Sonic's blue Dorito effect. Her character is really cool, and she learns throughout the story that having friends to help on the journey is better than going it alone. Now I wonder where I've heard this before. The plot is relatively simple. The Soul Emeralds have fallen into Sonic's dimension and have been stolen by Dr. Eggman. Eggman is gathering the emeralds to help out his alternate universe counterpart, Eggman Nega. Blaze is here too to retrieve the emeralds. Sonic and Blaze meet, where at first she insists on doing it alone, but Sonic eventually convinces her to let him help and they team up. Just like most Sonic games at this time, the story is split into two for Sonic and Blaze, both running at the same time and eventually coming together for a last story to wrap things up. Both have an equal amount of activity and can both be played at any time, rather than completing one first to get the other. Although, there is the aforementioned power of friendship part at the end, rendering the game a solid 0 out of 10, fuck you Sega. This game has fucking amazing music. Like, this isn't generic background music, it's genuinely killer shit. Every single song in this game is masterpiece level, and they're the prime reason why I keep coming back to play it. I just love booting up the game for the first time again and going through Leaf Storm for that bopping song. Every single level, every boss, even the fucking main menu, every song in this game is amazing. The level design in this game is really phenomenal. They're all designed in a way that allows the player to take them on in whatever way they want to, with multiple routes and different power-ups to pick up along the way. The times where you hit top speed going down slopes is incredibly satisfying, and the momentum you build up over time just makes everything feel faster and more fun to play through in large open levels like Leaf Storm and Night Carnival. Very original name, I see. The bosses in this game are surprisingly really good. The boss arenas are in these 2.5D areas that you can traverse around as you try to beat the shit out of the 3D giant robot. They can be a little bit challenging, but they don't take too much time to master, so don't be surprised if you die a few times fighting them. At least they did what the classic games could not, they made the bosses actually difficult. That's the big topic surrounding this game, the difficulty. As great as the level design is, it is way easier than before to die from bottomless pits placed everywhere and stage gimmicks being a bit stupid. Yes, you could counter this by saying it's a skill issue, but trust me, I wasn't the only one who thought this while playing. Search pretty much any video related to this game and that's what people will talk about. I'm honestly surprised that Sonic Team hasn't really touched on the whole alternate universe concept since the Rush era. Multiverse and other dimensions are such a cool concept in general, and it's a shame that they're usually short-lived and they underutilize their potential.
You're that Sonic from another dimension, aren't you?
Go back, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back! The story isn't too overly complex, and the characters are pretty great here too. Characters like Cream and Amy get their chances to shine, especially through Blaze's story. Knuckles is also here for like 2 seconds, and still not guarding the Master Emerald like the lazy fuck he is. And ironically, it's Blaze who interacts with Sonic's friends here more than Sonic himself does. The game was received really well, and it even got itself 2 sequels down the road too. Yes, I am counting Colors DS as Rush 3 because it's literally the exact same gameplay style. Sonic Rush helped inspire an entire generation and has managed to influence mainline Sonic games for over a decade with the elements it's presented. Although unfortunately these days people seem to have forgotten about it, which is a real damn shame. People hardly talk about how great this game was or even bring up the Sonic DS games at all. This and the other DS games, not you, deserve more recognition and are easily accessible through emulation, which gives no reason for why people shouldn't talk about them anymore. Or even better, download the ROM onto a DS multi-card if you want to experience it legitimately. Sonic Rush being on the DS was an excellent choice, as the console was very popular in this era of gaming. It introduced many people to the Sonic franchise, and it is a great point to start at. The mix of classic style gameplay will let newcomers feel more adjusted if they decide to play the Genesis games, especially with the Classic Collection also being on DS. And this would also get people excited for new Sonic content down the line and give them a bright outlook on how the future of Sonic games would be in general. Oops. So without further say, get this game and jam out to the killer soundtrack because at least it'll be better than Drake's new album. Be sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. Also check out the Mobius Zone Discord server. I proudly administer it and there are some really awesome people there, so I hope you can check it out. Link is in the description. And I'll see you in the next one, and hopefully I don't take another month to upload. Peace out.